My name is Katrina, 33 years old. On the morning of my sister's wedding, I stepped out of the shower and my father was already waiting in the hallway. He looked at my bright, chemical orange hair and smiled. Now you won't outshine our real daughter. My mother stood behind him and let out a short, rehearsed laugh. Exactly. Today is Chloe's day. You're just the shadow. They had poured salon-grade dye into my shampoo bottle the night before. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't say a word. I simply looked them both in the eyes, walked out to my car, closed the door, and made one phone call. They had no idea who I was calling. They had no idea she had been waiting for this moment for 29 years. Less than 1 hour later, when that woman walked in, my mother went deathly pale and had to grab the wall to keep from falling. My name is Katrina, 33 years old. And today, every lie my mother has told for the last 29 years is about to collapse in front of everyone. If you've ever been treated as the wrong daughter by your own family, comment orange below and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. The reason I let it happen is because I already knew. The night before, at 11 o'clock, I had gone into the bathroom of my childhood bedroom to wash my face. On the counter sat a bottle of Aveda shampoo, mint green, the exact brand I use. It was not my bottle. Mine was still in my overnight bag on the bed. In the small trash can beside the vanity was another mint green bottle with the cap off, half full, tossed on top of a used cotton pad. Someone in that house had emptied my shampoo, replaced it with a decoy, and been sloppy about the evidence. I unscrewed the fake bottle. I smelled it. Under the mint, there was a soft chemical sweetness, hydrogen peroxide. I have been a NICU nurse for 11 years. When you spend that long around neonatal sterilization protocols, you learn what chemicals smell like the way other people learn what basil smells like. I put the bottle back on the counter exactly where I had found it. In the NICU, when you suspect a chart is being falsified, you don't rip up the paper. You let the record finish. Then you prove what happened. I slept badly. In the morning, at 11:15, I got up on purpose. I let my mother believe I was groggy. I stepped into the shower and used the bottle. All of it. I let the color set for a full 60 seconds while I counted, because I needed the evidence to be undeniable, and because I needed my mother to think, for one final hour, that she had won. When I stepped out into the hallway, my father was waiting like he had a stage cue. My mother stood 3 steps behind him with a champagne flute already in her hand. Neither of them was surprised. That was how I knew they had been sitting there for at least 20 minutes, waiting for the door to open. I said nothing. I walked past them. I went out the front door of the house I grew up in, and I got into my car. The Charlotte sun was hitting the driveway hard enough that I had to squint through the windshield. I closed the car door. Then I dialed. The phone rang once. "Loretta, it's Katrina. Are you still in Charlotte with Hollis?" "I am. I need you at the Duke Mansion. Bridal suite. Now." She did not ask what happened. She did not say, "I'm sorry." She did not ask if I was safe. She said, "I'm getting my keys. Send me the address. And Katrina." She paused. "I've been ready for this call for 29 years." I set the phone on the passenger seat. I dialed a second number. Salon Blanc in Dilworth. I told the woman who answered that I had a permanent color emergency and I needed a colorist in 7 minutes. She said her name was Marnie and she would be waiting at the door. I put the car in reverse. My mother was standing in the front window watching me go. She raised her champagne flute half an inch, like a toast. I did not wave back. Marnie was standing at the salon door in a black apron with a pair of latex gloves already on. She was maybe 28, with a short buzz cut and tired eyes. She looked at my hair for 2 seconds. Then she said, "Come inside. Don't touch anything on the way to the chair." She lifted a strand of my hair and held it under the color-corrected light. She sniffed it once. She peeled off a glove. This is Redken Permanent. Someone put this here on purpose. This did not leak from anywhere. I know, I said. Do you want me to try to strip it? No, I want you to tone it enough that it isn't the first thing anyone sees. And I want a receipt with the exact time, the exact product analysis, and your signature. Marnie looked at me for a long moment. Then she nodded once and started mixing. 27 minutes later, I was walking out of Salon Blanc with a copper-orange head of hair that no longer looked like a road cone, a zip-top bag of hair samples, a printed invoice for $340, and Marnie's business card with her cell number written on the back in Sharpie. If anyone tells you that receipt isn't enough, she said at the door, you call me. I'll come. I got in the car. My phone lit up. A text from Loretta. I'm at the venue, waiting downstairs. The dashboard clock read 12:22. I had made 2 phone calls in the last 42 minutes. In 18 more, my mother's world was going to walk into a room she had spent 29 years making sure never opened. She still didn't know. To understand what was inside Loretta's shoulder bag, you have to go back to the winter of 1997. I was 4 years old. My mother went into labor at 28 weeks. My father took her to Wake Forest Baptist in Winston-Salem in the middle of an ice storm. A neighbor named Willa took me home. I stayed with Willa for almost 3 weeks. I have very few memories of that time. I remember her yellow kitchen curtains. I remember the smell of dryer sheets on my pajamas. And I remember one afternoon when my grandmother, Eleanor Ellsworth, drove 90 minutes from the hospital just to pick me up and take me to see my sister through a glass wall. My grandmother held me on her hip in a hallway that smelled like disinfectant. She pointed at a plastic box under a warming light. Inside the box was something the size of a loaf of bread, wrapped in wires. That is your sister, she said. She is very small, but she is fighting. That was the only time in the first 9 weeks of Chloe's life that I saw her. It was also the only time in my life that anyone told me my grandmother had been at that hospital at all. For the next 25 years, everything I heard about Chloe's birth came from my mother. My mother told the story the same way every time. I fought for that baby every day. I sat by her incubator. I stayed up all night. I didn't sleep for 2 months. She told it on Chloe's birthday, every February. She told it on Mother's Day, every May. She told it at family dinners when a new friend asked how the sisters were so different. She told it at church, at the grocery store, in the car, at the dentist. By the time Chloe could talk, she was repeating pieces of it back like scripture. Once, when I was 8, I asked my mother where the hospital pictures were. She said, "We were too busy fighting to take pictures." I remember that answer very specifically because I remember watching her face while she said it. She was applying mascara. She did not look at me. My grandmother died in the fall of 2000. I was 8. Chloe was 3. It was pancreatic cancer, quick and cruel. My mother did not cry at the funeral. She wore a black dress and rearranged food on the reception table. That night, after everyone left, I stood at the top of the stairs in my nightgown and heard my mother say one word to my father in the kitchen. Finally. The next spring, when Chloe was almost 4, my mother began telling a new story. Your grandmother didn't want you, Chloe. She thought you were a mistake. She refused to hold you. I heard this story for the first time on a Saturday afternoon when Chloe was crying because she had lost a stuffed rabbit. My mother sat her on her lap and stroked her hair and said, "Sweetheart, some people didn't want you here, but Mommy did. Mommy fought for you every single day." I stood in the doorway of the living room, holding a glass of water, and I did not know how to say what I knew, because I was 8 and my grandmother was dead, and my mother had a voice that made even the truth doubt itself. For the next 15 years, I let the story stand. Then, in the summer of 2018, I was in the middle of a night shift at Levine Children's in Charlotte. A 29-week baby had crashed twice in 6 hours. His mother had gone home to sleep because she had 2 other children. His paternal grandmother had shown up at 3 in the morning and asked, in a voice so quiet I almost didn't hear her, "Can I sit next to him? He knows my voice." She sat there for 9 hours. I drove home that morning at 7 and I sat in the parking lot of my apartment building and I cried for 20 minutes for a woman I had not seen since I was 8 years old. That afternoon, I opened my laptop and I searched for the name of the head NICU nurse at Wake Forest Baptist in 1997. I found a name I already knew, Loretta Whitfield. I typed her name into the alumni database from my nursing program because she had also been a clinical instructor there when I trained, and I sent her a short email. "Loretta, my name is Katrina Ellsworth. I don't know if you remember me from your rotations in 2015. I have a question about a family you might have had in the NICU in February of 1997. Ellsworth, baby girl, 28 weeks. Take your time." She wrote back in 3 days. 2 sentences. "I remember your family very well. Call me when you're ready to hear it." For 7 years, I kept that email in a folder on my desktop. I opened it on my grandmother's death anniversary. I opened it on the morning of my 30th birthday. I opened it the night my mother texted me the wedding date. I never called. Not until this morning. The rehearsal dinner had been the night before at Foxcroft Country Club, and I should have known then. The Ashfords are old Charlotte money. Warren Ashford runs Ashford Real Estate Group, which his father founded in 1962. His wife, Beatrice, sits on 3 charitable boards. Their oldest son, Everett, is 31, quiet, careful, and about to marry my sister. Everett's grandmother, Adelaide, is 79 years old and has been running that family since Warren was in high school. I was seated at the end of the table, on the Ashford side, next to Everett's cousin Cora, and across from Adelaide. Adelaide watched me for the entire first course. She was not rude about it. She was patient. She was the kind of Southern grandmother who could disassemble a stranger with 3 questions and a small smile. "And what do you do, dear?" I opened my mouth. Chloe cut in from 4 seats down. "Kat works in healthcare." Adelaide waited. Chloe did not add anything. Adelaide looked at me. She looked at Chloe. She lifted her wine glass a half-inch. Exactly the way my mother had raised her champagne at me from the front window the next morning. Then she set it down and said, "How lovely." She did not ask me another question for the rest of the dinner. Halfway through the entree, I went to the restroom. On my way back through the corridor, I passed the photographer. His name was Ramsey, mid-30s, black button-down, an iPad hanging from a strap around his neck. He was reading through what I recognized as a family portrait shot list. I saw my name highlighted in yellow. Beside it, someone had written "Bride requests minimal frames." Ramsey looked up. His face did not change. He said in a very low voice, "I'm sorry." I did not answer him. There was no answer to give. When I came back to the table, my mother was on her feet, tapping a fork against her water glass. She had prepared a toast. "Chloe had to fight to be here," she said, her voice full and warm. "From the day she was born. I fought with her every day." Adelaide Ashford was in the middle of